feelings. I stopped giving a damn a long time ago.
Hey, Mandy.
Hey, AdELA.
New week, new topic.
Yep. And
So,
I'm excited about this one.
okay, so lay it on me. What are we talking about?
So I want to talk about the comparison trap. And I think this is important, and I want to get some of your insights on this because as a creative, your job is to do something that resonates with you. You're the creator, you're the artist. It's a very personal, reflective thing. And then at the same time, it's kind of hard not to compare yourself to others. And even with clients that I work with, sometimes they don't even realize that they're caught. Part of what gets them stuck at moving forward is that they're judging themselves based off of other people because they're comparing themselves to
Right.
And I was just wondering if you've ever experienced this struggle of comparing yourself as an artist to others or your success to others and things like that.
All the time. I mean, it's so, in the music business, it's so easy to do that, right? Because it's all about entertainment, it's all about numbers, and how do I not compare myself to Beyonce?
Right.
And if I do, how do I measure up to that? Right?
Exactly.
I mean, there is a literal shirt or saying that says like you have the same 24 hours in a day that Beyonce does. And she is incredible.
Right.
And there's so many artists that are so incredible and because there's no playbook, we look to them. Mm-hmm. This is the playbook.
Yeah.
So for me to be successful, I have to do X, Y, and Z and be here. And all we're doing is comparing ourselves to these people. Mm-hmm. And then on top of that, within, with social media being within your circles that you're looking at and people you're following that are your peers or in your business, we're constantly looking at those people. Well, like, how did they get this opportunity? Why are they getting this opportunity? It's all we do.
Yeah. And it feels personal, right? It feels like there's something wrong with you, or it's a reflection of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to constantly remind myself as an artist that I have my own journey. Yeah. And my own lane, and it's not personal. It's, and even though sometimes it feels like it, you're like, well, why can't, in the beginning of my career, I was always like, well, all I want is a record deal. That's all I want. And I would see people get these record deals, and slowly but surely, I started realizing that the grass was not greener on the other side.
Yeah.
And in my own journey, I realized being in deals myself, I realized like, man, I hate this. Mm-hmm. This is not what I want to do. So, it's tough because it's like in hindsight, you look back and you're like, everything happens for a reason. Our journey, we take the steps and we do the things that lead us to where we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it's a very hard lesson, especially when you're young and new and you're just coming into the business. Yeah. Now more than ever with social media.
Yeah. Well, and so with the whole comparison thing, that gets tied up in a couple different areas. Is if I, get as many record deals and I get X, Y, and Z, then I will feel like I'm good enough. Or then I'll feel successful, then I'll feel happy, then where it's like this search for some sort of self-validation or some sort of even emotional payoff, that when I get there like them, because they have that and I want that, then it'll be enough. And that's often when people get to those points, they find that they don't really feel any different. Maybe in that moment, that there's that, oh, I met this goal and I am proud of this success. But if it's attached to you feeling good enough about yourself, people will find that doesn't go away just because you reach a certain goal. And that's where learning to belong to yourself as an artist is important.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is every time as an artist, you try to compare yourself to others and you start to lose a sense of yourself, then you are not going to be your most successful self.
Absolutely. And I think too, when you, and I think with experience, it comes,
Yeah.
it is so much easier driving in your own lane.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, just,
Yeah.
it's like smooth sailing, and when you start comparing and you start going, well, I want to, let me do what this person is doing and this person's doing. If it doesn't come natural to who you are and it's not true to who you are, it's going to come across, especially when you're making art and you're creating that, right?
Yep.
I don't care how many records there are about popping bottles in the club. I'm not doing that. So, yes, I can absolutely put the words together and I can make it rhyme and I can make a song about it. But am I going to be able to sell it? Are people going to believe me? And then if I grow my fan base off of that, am I being true to who I am as an artist? Like, I've had to realize recently too, just being on social media and comparing, like, okay, this might be trending, but that's not me.
Yeah.
Now, if I go into that lane, it's going to be an uncomfortable space for me. And then I'm going to have to keep up with that. And that's more work versus me being who I am, staying true to that person, and allowing the people that gravitate towards it, allowing those people to come to me.
Yep. Your audience will come to you. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And while, if you try to go into the other lane and you're comparing, you're trying to adjust to the expectations of others, that may seem, doable for a while. However, the payoff won't be there long term. However, learning to stay in your own lane and learning to be true to yourself requires an immense amount of courage, because it's scary and it feels risky, because if that's not accepted or when that is rejected, it feels like you're being rejected as a person. And that's where it's important to, I call them the shame shields. You got to get your shame shields up around not taking this as a reflection of you not being good enough or your worthiness. It's just a part of the process, and it's scary for everybody. And I think that's one of the things that often doesn't get talked about, is that no matter how successful you are, where you are in your journey, there's always going to be some self-doubt. There's always going to be, some anxiety connected to it, because it's part of the human experience. But you said it best, is when you are doing the things that come naturally to you, that's your zone. We call that alignment.
Right.
Alignment, you're in your zone, and you don't want to have to force outcomes. You want them to come naturally.
Right. I mean, and that, again, we go back to Beyonce. Why is she so good at what she does? Because that's her. My light turned off. It was like, because that's her. And then it was like, I'm out. But yeah, I mean, that's, and if we all were just really true to ourselves and, but we have to learn, we have to walk those paths and make those mistakes and, try different things until we're like, this is exhausting to me. I remember one of the first songs that I put out on radio, it wasn't a song I would have chosen for myself.
Yeah.
The beat was not what I would have chosen, the words, the style, but it was what was happening at the time. And I had a lot of people saying, well, this is what's working, so this is what you have to do. When I look back, I kind of regret it.
Yeah.
I'm like, what was I thinking? Why did I do that? But I didn't know any better. And
so if you could go back though and give your younger self in the industry some advice, what would you do? What would you say?
well, I would say go with your gut.
Yeah.
Go with your gut. And if your gut is saying, don't love this, don't, just trust that instinct, trust that inner artist instinct, and trust who you are. Because only AdELA can be AdELA. Yep. That's it. No one is ever gonna be better at being AdELA than I am.
Yep.
And And that goes for every single creative. That goes for everybody, really, outside of the creative industry. And it's a hard thing to learn, and because there's so much that, and there's so much that goes into that of self-esteem and all of these other factors, but there is only one you.
Yep.
And you're the best version of it.
Yep. And Brene Brown says it best, that to truly belong, it requires you to have the courage to actually be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And those words are just so powerful, the courage to be yourself, because too often we try to be perfect or to change how we look or what we're doing so that we're not criticized, so that we don't experience rejection. But that's going to happen no matter what.
Yeah. So you might as well be rejected for something you stand by and you love.
Right. And so just that, I think the one of my number one tips would be really leaning into having the courage to be yourself. And courage can't exist without fear. So it's going to feel scary. It's going to feel risky, but it's going to create the most sense of freedom in your life, because now you're the one setting the ground rules and the expectations for how you move forward in your career and your artistry. And it's coming from something that isn't going to require a lot of effort. It may require energy and focus, but when you're doing your natural born given talent, it doesn't feel unnatural.
And comparisons are not all bad, right? As an artist, I have my idols that I absolutely look up to, that I'm like, oh my God. But it needs to be realistic.
Right.
And I think that's the thing. It's like, you got to look in yourself and say, well, who am I as a person?
Yep.
Why do I love this person? Why do I look up to them? Okay, well, you can compare yourself and say, well, they're doing this, and I'd like to get there someday, and maybe I can make a checklist and do these things that can get me there. That's my plan, or that's my path. But I think that sometimes we could just get overwhelmed with the hype.
Yeah.
And some of it is really hype and smoke. And we have to be able to look through that and, and also understand, and this is key, we don't fully understand everybody's journey.
Yeah.
We don't know what they did to get there, how hard they worked, how many years it took to get there. We are seeing the snapshot of success. And most artists in the business who are successful, they have been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
And they have been putting their blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Mm-hmm.
So our journeys are not the same. Our journeys, everybody is unique. And so just as our journeys are unique, we are unique, and we just have to accept that.
Yep. So let's each give all of these creatives out there a tip. What's your last and final tip? You've given a lot of good ones.
Always be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Go with you.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, no one's going to be a better version of you than you.
Yep. I love it. And I think the tip I would give is, when you do find that you are beginning to compare yourself to others, because it's a natural thing that we're going to do, check in with your inner dialogue. And is what you're thinking about yourself when you're comparing it to someone, is that something you would say to someone that you love and care about?
That's important.
And if it's not, then change the script and give yourself permission to just be you and have the courage to do so. So I'm so glad that we got to talk about this. I think it's really important and something that everyone's going to be able to relate to. And I appreciate you sharing your process in it as well.
And I love your tip. You're essentially just telling us to be kind to ourselves. Yeah. And accept ourselves.
Absolutely.
Well, it was really good. I can't wait till next week.
Yes.
And as always, guys, follow us at AdELA and Mandy on Instagram, and follow Mandy at therapist_Mandy. I'm doing music. And Mandy, what is your YouTube?
Therapist Mandy TV.
Therapist Mandy TV. She's got some amazing content, and she goes deeper into some of the things we discuss. and she discusses a whole bunch of things that we don't discuss. So go check her out, and we will see you next week.